Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of the Market Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, alongside Danny Hernandez. We're going to be covering our experiences at the taping of Dynamite and Rampage over in Queens at Arthur Ashe Stadium for Grand Slam. Obviously, we immediately need to start off with the Kenny Omega Bryan Danielson match. These psychopaths led with this match, which I was not expecting. The absolute madmen. Me and James, who is not here today, were actually online trying to get food and heard the music, and we didn't recognize it at first. So we were waiting, and then we heard from North Carolina, and then we booked it and got back to our seats just in time. James was unfortunately not able to be here today. He's on vacation, but he did send in a video because he really, really wanted to talk about this match. So let's hear from James now.
Hey everybody, sorry I couldn't be on the pod this week. I moved heaven and hell to even get to Arthur Ashe. I flew across the country for a day just so I can see my dream match of Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. And it delivered in every way. I have been wanting to see these two square up for years, and it was one of the best matches I've ever had the privilege of watching. AEW continues to remind me week after week why I'm a wrestling fan. The entire show, the entire night, Dynamite, Rampage, it delivered, and it delivered in a big way. I have so much more I wanted to say, and I'll get to it eventually, but I just wanted to say how grateful I am to be a wrestling fan, and I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. See you next week.
Thank you for that, James. We look forward to seeing you next week as well. Obviously, James is absolutely right. This is an unbelievable match. Probably, hopefully, Daniel Bryan's surprisingly first 5-star match ever. I got to say, in the moment, I was a little disappointed with the finish, with the time limit draw, but I'm coming around to James's point of view where the ending was right. Dan, what did you think about the match itself and the finish?
Okay, so like you, I did not expect them to start with that. I'm amazed you heard the music from the hallway. I guess because you were in the hall, because I was in my seat and I could not hear the music at all. The crowd went electric immediately. They completely drowned out the music. I really didn't know it was Daniel Bryan until he actually came out of the entranceway. But the match was unbelievable for me. I was expecting, or not completely expecting, because I wasn't entirely sure how this would play out, but I knew there was a very likely chance of there being a time limit draw, and I was very, very much for that. Instead of getting the normal constant interference from the Elite shenanigans, which I like, I'm not complaining about that. This didn't have that. It felt different. It just ended because neither guy could beat the other guy. It's a free match we got on TV, and for a match we know we're going to get another one of based on the way it ended. They put it all on the line right away. This match had me on the actual edge of my seat in the stadium, like not even just using that as a phrase. I was actually on the edge of my seat throughout this match. One thing I genuinely loved about this match was there was so many times where we've seen so much wrestling and like we know when a counter is coming. There was so many times where I'm like, oh, this is where Daniel Bryan counters and starts going back on offense, and he wouldn't counter. Kenny would just hit the move. He would hit the V trigger, or he would hit whatever move he was going for, and I was like, oh, like I really thought this was like the turning point in the match, but Kenny would keep on the offense, and it actually really made me believe. I'm like, Kenny winning was my least expected outcome, but throughout the match, I was like, he might pull this off. So I really didn't have a problem. And, the crowd booed because, of course, you're going to boo a non-finish at first, but it wasn't like a, end in Hell in a Cell and disqualification boo. It wasn't a, this is bullshit.
That was referee stoppage. That was referee stoppage. I want that to be.
Which one? Both of them?
No, the Hell in a Cell one. I know it's no, you're referencing the Fiend Seth Rollins one. That was a reference.
I could have been referencing the Brock Lesnar when Brock Lesnar came out and attacked Reigns and Braun Strowman in Hell in a Cell too.
I forgot that. That was also stupid. But all right, no more WWE stuff.
Yeah, but like the crowd got over it quickly. It wasn't like a, oh my God, how dare you. It was a natural reaction to what happened of like, oh, the match is over, boo. But then the crowd got over it so quickly. Like once the Elite came out, we're like, yeah, whatever. Like we're going to get some more stuff right now. Who cares? Like the crowd was quick to move on. And I really do think it was the right call. You said you weren't fond of it at first. So what were you feeling initially?
Well, yeah, no, I think I was with a lot of the crowd where it was just like, damn, I wanted a finish. You know, like I honestly thought Bryan was going to win, especially because it was non-title. And I knew there was very little time left, but usually, at least in past instances where they've been getting close to the time limit, and especially when they've had time limit draws, Justin Roberts has counted down from at least 10, and he's definitely giving you the 30-second warning. He didn't say anything after a minute. So I obviously started losing track of time, and then the bell just rang, and I was just like, wait, that's it? And I was like, damn, I really wanted to finish. But then James started talking to me. He's like, no, this makes a lot of sense. And then I started thinking about it, and I calmed down. And you said you were on the edge. You said you were on the edge of your seat because me and James ran back. We never sat down. So we were in the last row underneath. Did you see those screens in the four corners of Arthur Ashe?
Yeah.
We were underneath one of those. So for those of you who haven't been to Arthur Ashe, which I imagine is a lot of people because, tennis, but up against each side of the arena, there is a big LED screen. So me and James were in the row right in front of it, and there was a nice walkway behind us, which was very convenient. But with nobody sitting behind us, we were standing half the night, so that was really cool. So like I said, in the moment I was upset, and then I started thinking about it, and I started replaying the match in my head, and I was like, okay, these guys were so good against each other, they couldn't finish their match in 20 minutes. That's the story that was told here. Nobody hit a finisher. The only real ending move, so to speak, that anybody hit was Bryan locked in the cattle mutilation, brought that bad boy back.
Oof,
so and
Kenny, well, he did hit the running knee, but Kenny fell out of the ring.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Yeah. So nobody had a pinfall attempt on a finisher. Yeah, I forgot he hit the running knee and he fell out of the ring. I forgot about that. So obviously this was just one of those matches where they need more time, so it makes a lot of sense, but in the moment, whatever. And now this leads to a lot of people are saying they should get the 60-minute Iron Man match next.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I'd be down for that. Even if it's not for the title, I would be absolutely down for that. That would be, I'd say, give them the whole hour of Rampage. I don't even care.
That's what Bryan wants. That
would completely pop the Rampage ratings, and it would be unbelievable. But I don't know. They'd probably have to do it on pay-per-view. But one unbelievable match. I saw a lot of people saying that was the best TV match ever, or at least up there. I have to agree, and I also have to agree with you on the sound coming out. I think part of the reason I was because me and James, when we were online at the beginning, we were skeptical about who it was because we couldn't hear the music, and we thought it was MJF or Pillman, and I was like, it is way too loud to be MJF or Pillman, which is another reason why we couldn't hear anything. And the rest of the night was the acoustics in Arthur Ashe are insane.
Yes.
So loud in there. The echo, I couldn't keep track of chants because everything was echoing off the roof and coming straight back down. And then by the time it got down to the bottom levels, the top levels had already finished their chant, and the bottom levels were just getting it, and they were just going again, and it was just like this endless loop.
Yeah, I was for the people who are gonna complain that the crowd wasn't doing the Daniel Bryan ROH chant, you're gonna get your fucking head kicked in. They were doing it. It was just out of sync because the bottom was doing it and the top were doing it at 2 different times, and you couldn't make it out because it took me. I was like, what are they doing? I could only tell from the claps what they were chanting. I couldn't actually hear the words because it was out of sync.
Yeah.
But yes, the acoustics were fantastic. I was sitting I was actually really close. I'll get into the story of how I got my seats later on, but I was the lower level, pretty close to right above the floor seat section. So I could hear a chant start up top, and then within 5 seconds, I'm hearing it on the bottom now too, and I'm like, man, it's so crazy how quickly these chants were spreading because of the arena.
It's that high up too. Like I put the picture of other Nick from our podcast, his seats, but we were the section over, James and I, and it's high, a great angle, because you need it for the tennis. So great angle. I could see everything, but it was high up there. So I can see why it would take so long to come down. We definitely got a lot of "you're gonna get your fucking head kicked in" chants in. Me and James started a few. Section next to us started a few. Like, we were getting those going. So
yeah, they just probably didn't come across on TV because that's a hard chance to get the whole crowd in unison. A lot of people,
especially that many people, as compared to like a Ring of Honor crowd, which at the time was maybe 1,000 from what I can see from the YouTube videos that everyone keep posting. But like, hey, watch this video, make sure you get the chant right. But hopefully it came off okay, and I'm very much looking forward to watching, especially that match back. As of now, TNT hadn't put the rerun up on their app, so I haven't been able to watch it back yet. But I'm really looking forward to that match because I want to hear what commentary had to say about everything going on, and I want to hear what the crowd sounded like while it was happening. Yeah,
because it was deafening. It was deafening, like being there. There was so much going on, and so just to backtrack a little bit to the finish, it didn't. I think there were so many things that go into it. Like them going on first makes sense when you think they're not going to end the show with a a time limit draw. It kind of makes sense, especially because then you have to like base the timing of the entire show around this match starting on time. Like you have no room for error. You were going to say?
Yeah, no. I actually was shocked they went on first.
Because, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, which is another reason James and I were at the concession stand. We were convinced. We're like, oh, this has to be the main event. This has to be the main event. This has to be the main event. And then I was just like, wait, it's not. Like you're to be a little crass, you're blowing your load in the first match. Like everyone is here for everything, obviously, but this is the match on the card, and you're coming out with it right out of the gate. I was shocked. It made a lot more sense with the time limit draw, but I was in utter awe that they started with that.
Yeah, so was I. But I guess they started Rampage with Punk, when he debuted. So I guess, we gotta kind of expect this sort of thing from them now. Like I don't think they're gonna, to, I guess, also be crass. I don't think they're going to make us edge all night. I think they're just going to let us blow our load right away.
Well, I don't know. I think the Punk thing was a little different, though, because if they didn't start with Punk that night after all of that teasing, that crowd would have hijacked the show. They would have been chanting CM Punk the whole night, and none of the matches would have worked. Tonight was different. Like, we were anticipating a lot of stuff on the card, and obviously that was just the one we were anticipating the most.
Yeah, they didn't have to do it, but
we would have waited. But I think, with the time limit draw and what you said about it, like their timing having to be perfect, it did make sense. And honestly, it didn't take the life out of the crowd. Obviously,
no, not even close.
I mean, the next segment was CM Punk. They went to commercial real quick, and they come back, and here's the CM Punk promo, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic promo. That's one where I was not expecting Punk to come out. Like I was about to go get beer, and I was like, oh nope, gotta go back. Oh, gotta get off the line. Gotta go back to my seat. It's a great promo. There was that film director that criticized Punk for not having that edge he used to have. Sorry, I should say the film director, Arthur Gisante,
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty well-known film director. He was, and Punk addressed some of the criticisms that people like that were saying that, they want the old CM Punk. They want CM Punk to be angry and have an edge. But, in all reality, how mad can this guy be right now? He has no reason to be mad in the year 2021 right now. He has no reason to be mad, and he's just enjoying every moment of it. That day will come. We'll get angry CM Punk. It's going to happen, but until then, he's enjoying the moment.
I thought he did a great job of dressing that in this promo. He came out, he was like, I want to be mad. I want to have the scowl. I got jumped by Team Taz last week and they tried to put me through a table. And then he got I am the tabled, but line. But yeah, he was like, I want to be pissed off, but I come out here and I see all you people, and I'm like, how am I supposed to be mad? He's like, I'll be mad when I need to be mad, but like I'm not gonna be, And then I thought him saying, professional wrestling is finally back in New York was a pretty big deal, especially after SmackDown was there 2 weeks ago. They were in the so,
hey, they took the dig there,
Yeah.
Which is fine. I like when both companies do it, but
yeah. And then I thought his match against Hobbs was solid. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't nearly as good as the Darby match. I think it, obviously only being his second match back, and he's facing a guy of such large stature in Hobbs. And let's be realistic.
And a younger guy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I like Hobbs a lot, but he's still a little green. He's come a long way, but he's still a little green. I liked the match. I thought it was very good. But it was just it was another match. But it's going to progress the storyline. It was nice to see CM Punk on TV again. It was honestly nice to see CM Punk wrestle live for the first time in my life. So that was an awesome experience.
Oh, that was your first time seeing him wrestle? That's awesome.
Yeah, I never seen him wrestle. I didn't. I'm trying to think of what my first live show was. I think it honestly might have been a takeover in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that would.
I don't remember which one.
The first one with the Bailey Sasha match.
No, God, I wish it was that. It might have been the one after that.
Okay.
I think it might have been.
That was good too. But...
I saw two there. I know one of them was the I think it was the False Count Anywhere Gargano Ciampa
match. Oh yeah, I was there for that one too.
I definitely saw that one. So yeah. But yeah, I never went to WWE stuff or whatever. No, I said this before. I didn't really get into WWE until The Rock came back, and then the Shield and the Pipe Bomb and stuff. It was all around that time.
Yeah.
So. And Pipe Bomb gets me back into wrestling, and then here's CM Punk coming back, and full circle.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Hobbs match was good. There was the one mishap during the match was a little scary looking when Hobbs kind of slipped for the top rope Hurricane Rana. That was a little bad, but he seemed fine. I don't think he was hurt after that. So,
that looked bad. Me and James were debating who got that worse. I thought Hobbs definitely got it worse because he landed on his shoulder. Punk seemed to land a little more cleanly. Yeah, glad everybody was safe from that. And that's another thing, maybe part of that's a little bit of ring rust from CM Punk, and part of that's a little bit of, greenness from Hobbs.
And not to jump back and forth, but the show was so crazy it's hard to remember everything. In the Omega Bryan match, when Omega did the buckle bomb on Bryan and he went missed. Right over the rope, I thought that was insane. I was like, yo, that looked like a terrible accident. I thought Bryan was gonna be hurt, and then because he's a pro, Bryan starts selling his wrist the rest of the match, and I'm like, there was reports that he actually had people backstage worried he was hurt. And he was like, no, I'm fine. He was just that good at selling that.
Bryan is such a good seller that he makes me nervous in every match because he has his history, and I'm just like, oh, guys, this guy fucking hurt again. And I'm trying to retrain myself to be like, no, he's okay. He's selling.
And he plays into that, when they do the dragon suplex on the ramp, and they do the V trigger running down from the ramp, or any V trigger, you have that he did retire because of brain and neck issues. It's watching him take some of these moves sometimes just makes you a little squirm a little bit.
Well, if you watch him, he took the dragon suplex off the top rope.
Yeah.
And I go to James and I went, he over rotated and he landed on his chest, and he goes, he does that to protect his neck. I didn't know about that, so I was wondering maybe he flipped the buckle bomb on purpose, so he didn't take it on his back and he went over the rope on purpose. Maybe it looked like it was by design. It's just the nature of the visual of it makes it look like you can't do that on purpose. How do you do that on purpose? But it did seem like it was planned, but it's one of those things how do you actually execute that on purpose, Yeah, it was he is that good.
Yeah.
All right, moving down the card a bit. Right after that, we had MJF and Pillman. I'm going to be honest. you're going to hear this throughout the night. The lines in Arthur Ashe were so bad, and we'll get more into it later, that if you wanted to go get a drink or use the bathroom or something, you basically had to sacrifice a segment. This one was mine. Yep. I completely missed it. I'm sure MJF got booed mercilessly, especially after. So I was also at the Newark show, and I couldn't hear his promo from that night. It was so loud. We like people chanting "shut the fuck up" and "asshole" and everything at him. I didn't know what he said until I watched it back last week. I had no idea. I knew he was talking about Bryan Pillman Sr. being in hell, and I may or may not have cheered when he made fun of New Jersey. But other than that, I couldn't hear a word he said. So I'm sure he got mercilessly booed. Did you see it? Like, what was it? Was it okay?
Yes, I also decided to take a bathroom break at that point, but I was lucky where I was. The lines weren't that long at this point in the night, so like I was in and out. But like, he got massive heat during his entrance. The match went way longer than I thought it would. Not that it was a long match. It's just I thought it was going to be like less than 5 minutes, you know, because it's like what more could they have done? But it was fun. They had the nice spots where MJF got in Julia Hart's face, then he grabbed her and held him in front of her as bait to stop Pillman. And you know, it was all right. You know, it felt a little out of place in the card, but still a good match. I'm not big into Pillman yet. Like I know he'll be better in the future and he'll be a bigger deal, but right now I'm just like, you're one of the guys on Dark who I never see because I don't really watch Dark. You know, so but MJF had good heat. Also, his parents were in the crowd that had a sign that said, "We're MJF's parents, and even we hate him." So, or something along those lines. So, you know, that was amazing.
I saw that. It was they put it on Twitter, and he quote tweeted it and said, "Fuck you, mom." Yeah. I think obviously love hating MJF, and I think Pillman is, like you said, is going to be a future star. Right now they're building him, and I think they're capitalizing off of his momentum from the Dark Side of the Ring episode. So they're doing a good job of building him, and even if he goes back a little bit and runs on Dark with Griff Garrison for a while, that it's a good spot for him until they like really truly build him up. And they've had some, they've gotten some tag title matches. They do this I like that they do this with their young guys. Give them some exposure, build them up a bit, and even if they fade back, that these are like the young guys coming up, and even if they, just went a little bit further than you expected, a little bit earlier than you expected. Like that makes sense. So I like that from them. All right, so yeah, following that match, Cody Rhodes against Malachi Black.
Whew.
This match, first of all, this match was good. I like this match. Obviously, I liked every match. Let's be realistic here. The crowd dynamics for this match were very intriguing to me because Malachi is getting very much cheered because I think everybody obviously really liked him in WWE, and then coming over to AEW, he finally has all his freedom. He can do what he wants, and everyone's going to cheer the guy. It didn't matter if he was, face or heel. He was going to get cheered.
Yeah.
The booing of Cody is something that really, really surprises me, especially compared to the beginning of AEW, where Cody was over as hell because everyone considered him one of, if not the main catalysts for creating AEW. And that, like, he was getting Cody chants, and it was a big deal. And now he's coming out. He's dressed like Homelander from The Boys. He's coming out to serious boos. Brandy came out of the heel tunnel, which I thought was maybe a bit of a foreshadowing for something either that night or in the future. And he got booed mercilessly as compared to last week where, and maybe this was a little bit of a Rosario Dawson effect, he was getting cheered. And they both got cheered, but he came out and he, maybe it was because he defended Rosario Dawson and everybody loves her. He was getting cheered in that, in that fight up into the crowd. Tonight, booed mercilessly. And then he does a couple heel things. He gets mad. Him and Arn get mad at each other. Arn fell. Honestly, though, I thought he played that really well. So, yeah, Arn falling and then having to get back up on the apron to yell at Cody, and then Cody knocking him over again was just, what are you gonna do? But I think there's a really intriguing dynamic with Cody here where they could flip him full heel, but at the same time, I feel like he's been a tweener since the start of this whole thing. So, what were your takes on it? Because I loved it, and I'm CC very intrigued, to borrow another line. So, yeah, my head's still spinning.
So I mean, the match was good. It was exciting. I like Cody, but I get why he's being booed, especially at this show, because I think a lot of people thought he's gonna get his win back. Like, he's gonna beat Malachi, and no one wanted Malachi to lose. But in general, the Cody Rhodes backlash, I understand to a degree. I'm just not on board with, because I think he's always had some of the best matches in AEW since the debut, and some of the most interesting ones, some of the most interesting stories. I feel like you see people comment this on wrestling groups all the time, that he's like the John Cena of this company, and it's like, how? Like, he literally he had a stipulation where he lost a title match and could never challenge again, and he stuck to it. How is he, like, are people really that mad that he beat Anthony Ogogo? Like, who the fuck cares about Anthony Ogogo? Like, are you kidding me? Like, Cody was always going to win that match. Anthony Ogogo is not a big deal. Like, and I'll probably eat these words one day and he'll be a big star, and I'll have to, be like, whatever. But at the moment, who cares? I agree. Like, when people were mad he beat Pentagon, I get that. I think Pentagon should have won that match. But, like, it's not like Cody always wins. He puts over people in big spots. He put over MJF. He put over Jericho when he was champ. It sounds weird saying he put over Jericho, but, he put over Darby. Like, Cody loses at the right times, I think. But to get back to the actual match, it was fun. It's a little bit too much stuff going on, like the Brandy sitting down, cross-legged and flipping him off is cool, but it's like there's all this other stuff going on. The Arn stuff was very convoluted, but if any of these things were alone in the match, they'd be cool. But there was just a lot. But it's a Cody match. You expect, to quote his own song, "Smoke and Mirrors." Like, there's always going to be those things in Cody's matches, but the right person won. The finish was fine. The mist is an interesting development. I didn't think there'd be mist involved with Black's character, but I'm not against it. I think there's stuff that can be done with that. I've already heard people speculating the mist is going to turn Cody heel, and maybe it will. Like, Cody is coming off in interviews lately, like, kind of delusional. But I think he's actually, or maybe I'm just hoping that he's self-aware enough and he's, making himself come off that way, because I haven't even seen The Boys yet. It's on my watch list, but I haven't even seen it yet. And I know Homelander's not a good guy. Like, he's not an accurate representation of a hero. And I don't think Cody watches the show and thinks, this is the good guy everyone likes. It's like watching Suicide Squad and thinking, like, Peacemaker is an actual good guy. Like, I don't think Cody's that out of touch. So I'm willing to trust the process and see where it goes with Cody from here on out.
Yeah, it would make sense, though, with Homelander. Like, he's delusional enough where he thinks he is the good guy. So maybe Cody does go that route. And obviously it was convoluted. It's a Cody match. It's always convoluted. There's always a lot going on in those matches. I will say this to your point about a go-go. I thought the build to that match was kind of shitty. I didn't get, like, the whole, US
one punch to the stomach thing too.
I get a go-go's gimmick. Like, he was, a silver. I think he was a silver medalist at the Olympics. Like, it makes sense. Like, the dude was a really good boxer, and he probably would have went on to do very good things in that sport had he not fucked his eye up.
Yeah.
So I got that whole build. I just didn't like the build to the match itself. That sucked.
It did.
The Big Show weigh-in did not help. God forbid they get a digital scale or just one. Just like, Jesus Christ, the Bucks were going to Walmart every day to look for their action figures. They couldn't get a scale. Like, come on. Yeah, it was, I don't know. But we'll see what happens with Cody. I mean, I know he has his reality shows coming out in a couple of weeks with him and Brandy. Maybe he uses that to start turning heel, you know, a little more, I don't want to say corporate, but like TNT company man type of deal.
Yeah.
And again, to your point about Cody having some, you know, being a big part of the history and having great matches, his match with Dustin at the beginning of AEW was their best match.
Yeah.
By a lot. I mean, maybe not by a lot, but like it was highly regarded as the best match in AEW to start the show. You know,
yeah, probably until like what? Until the Young Bucks versus Omega and Hangman tag match at Revolution. Like,
I would say so. I mean, you know, that was the first Double or Nothing, and yeah, I would say so. I think that was probably the best match in the company up until that point. You know, I mean, maybe if you want to maybe make an argument for that first lights out match with Mox and Kenny, but I don't know. I think
those are kind of spectacle. It's hard to compare those type of matches. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin leaking like that, and I don't know. The Bucks were pretty funny after that match, though. With the "I need my brother" on BCE, I did very much enjoy that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We had FTR against Sting and Darby Allin. And for those of you who followed along on the on Instagram and on the stories, A, thank you, appreciate that. And B, you all saw my utter disbelief that Sting is 62 years old and out here and looking like that. Now, granted, I bet you know a lot of that's probably FTR. You know, a good portion.
A lot of that, yeah.
Sting's in great shape for 62. I'm sure he's
absolutely
on the performance enhancers, you know, up here, but
yeah, even then, I don't think his hair's holding up. They're not working that well if he is.
But he looks great. He moves well. I don't know too many 62-year-olds. Excuse me, that was a lot of twos. Too many 62-year-olds who can run and jump like that. So I thought Sting looked great. Obviously, Darby looked good. FTR, always some of the best workers tag-wise in the company. I loved watching Sting. Another person I got to see for the first time. Check off the bucket list. So I was thrilled with that entire match. What about you?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It's not my first time seeing Sting. The first time I saw Sting, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I had my face painted like Sting. But you know, that was a long time ago. So seeing this was fantastic. I never get sick of his entrance. He looked great. FTR, like, this was one of those matches where you could see that they're carrying the load, but that there's a reason they were the ones chosen to do that. They really made Sting look amazing, and Darby looked good too. Darby got the first hot tag, and it was built up so well. My biggest gripe with this match is honestly, why didn't Darby ride a skateboard down to the ring? You know, I know it's because they had the LED ramp, and that's, you know, that's the actual reason why. But like, you know, it was the perfect ramp for it. Like, there was no steps for him to have to jump down. He could have just rode straight in. But you know, other than that, just a fun match. No complaints besides that.
I very much enjoyed the very subtle aspect of both Darby and Sting had their face paint smudged after having it rubbed off last week by Tully Blanchard. And the other thing I was a little surprised about was I thought Sean Spears might show up. James, as we said before, is in Florida, and on his flight up, he saw Sean Spears on the flight. So we were kind of expecting him to maybe show up, possibly help continue the storyline. No dice there, so I was a little surprised about that. Maybe this storyline is just ending, but I thought we were going to get maybe a little more out of Tully and Sting. That might happen next week. We shall see, but nothing going there so far. And so
one other thing about the match, just the coffin drop at the end on Cash. Oh my God, that was a sick coffin drop while he was on the apron.
Oh yeah, that apron coffin drop was brutal. I thought Darby got that worse. Honestly, I thought he cracked his head. He did. He looked a little worse for wear there.
Yeah.
Jeez, I forgot about that. There was so much stuff in this Nightmare. It's hard to remember everything.
Yeah, there's so many like honestly, we would be here for hours trying to talk about all the great spots throughout the night.
If we were actually sitting down and like watching it. Oof. All right. Final match on the card was the AEW Women's Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, against the new arrival Ruby Soho. Obviously, with the Kenny and Bryan match going first on the card, this had to close. And I do applaud AEW for putting title matches on last.
Yeah.
I liked this match. I thought the chemistry took them a second to get going, but once they got each other and the feel for each other, I thought it really picked up well. I'm just trying to remember it at this point. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I just said, like there's so much stuff that went on.
I mean,
there's pick
so
me up here, Danny.
Yeah. It's the reason we are struggling to just describe these matches is because we watched about 12 matches throughout the night, and there was so much craziness. It's hard. Like we had to go back and talk about some of the spots in the Kenny Bryan match that we didn't even cover because there was so much. But with this match, it was a good match. I agree with what you said already off the bat. It was good that they closed. You're closing with the title match. You're closing with the women's match, but you're not making a big deal of it. They didn't announce that. We just once the Kenny Bryan match was over, we're like, well, I knew right away. I was like, it has to be the women's match. Like, what else can close the show?
Yeah, same.
So they really, they're giving them the respect they deserve without patting themselves on the back for it. Like there's like, yeah, of course the women's title match is going to main event. It's the title match on the show. But it was a fun match. Ruby got to show, she hasn't got to wrestle a match, and this wasn't even that long of a match. One of the complaints I have is that the Pillman MJF match could have been 5 minutes shorter to give to this match, but this is still a longer match than Ruby's, I think, ever wrestled in the last 5 years.
Outside of an elimination chamber, yeah, probably.
Yeah, where she would be in that match for probably 5 minutes at most.
12, maybe 12. Yeah, exactly.
So this was a great showcase for her. It's it's weird to say that for Britt it was like another night. Actually, I bought the DMD title at the show.
Nice.
Or my friend bought from actually, so let me thank him for that instead of taking credit. But this just felt normal for Britt being there, being in the main event. Like she didn't feel out of place. This literally was like another night for her. As weird as that might sound, but for Ruby, this was the coming out party. I'm here, you're not wrong to invest in me, Tony Khan. I know she had permission. She came in with her own song, with an already established song. But, it's like, who else in the company has actual songs as their theme song? It's Orange Cassidy, it's Jon Moxley, it's CM Punk. I don't count Chris Jericho because it's his song, so it's not impressive. And let's be real here, no one liked that song until it was his theme song. Until the cruise, his song wasn't a big deal. But she's in an elite group of company with having special theme music right now, so she has that big feel. And this is her third match, second singles match overall, and she's main eventing the show. Can you imagine, not to keep bringing up the other show, but can you imagine her main eventing in a singles match on the other show? Just doesn't happen. And she really came through. Like I said, the chemistry took a little bit, but they still had a fun match. It was basic psychology. Ruby tried to go for a finisher early on, did the whole I almost got you, I was that close moment early on, until Britt took control. I think the finish was a little, I don't want to say basic, but it's for AEW, it's a very basic finish. The goons interfere, the heel shenanigans. It was a little rushed because I was looking at the time and I was like, dude, this match has to end in the next minute. It was 9:58, and I was like, this literally can't go on much longer. So it just felt a little rushed. So I don't know how it came across on TV. I don't know how quickly the show went off air after the bell rang. But still, overall positive. just maybe could have used 5 more minutes, and the finish could have been drawn out a little more because it was kind of felt a little rushed to me anyway. And to famous film director Eric Gisante.
Well, yeah, no. So, like you were saying, I want to see how this came across on TV, and it's another reason why I wish I had the chance to watch all this stuff back, because A, it obviously would have been fresher in my head, and B, I like just juxtaposing how things are live to how they come across on TV. You know,
Yeah.
I thought the build last week in Newark, that promo they cut on Rampage,
Yeah,
awesome. They really went at each other. I think they played it a good 2 or 3 times before the show even started last night. You know,
yeah,
they started filming Elevation. So I loved that promo. I loved the build to this match. I thought Ruby did acquit herself very well. I thought she looked good out there. Like I said, I thought the chemistry took a minute, but once they got going, they both looked spectacular. I'm looking forward to seeing Ruby a lot more in AEW. The freedoms she has, you know, the ability. The huge strike.
yeah. No,
outside my house.
I saw the flash anyway.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, am I okay? No, we're good. Yeah, because God forbid we lose power in the middle of the podcast. I digress. I thought she looked really good. I do agree that the finish was a little bit basic, but I thought it worked very well. You know, that's kind of how, you know, Brit's goons work right now, especially Rebel, not Reba. You know, she's not exactly out there, you know, putting serious wrestling moves on anybody right now. And I know Hayter could have got a little more involved, but I like the way it was done. It was very simple, you know, bit of shenanigans, solid lockjaw, bingo, bango, boingo, we out of there.
Yeah, and to even, you know, take your side against my criticism of it, you know, because the people say, like, oh, like, why, like, Britt can just win clean. It's like, she actually beat Statlander clean on the pay-per-view. You know, so I don't think they have to, it's not like they always do the goons interfering shenanigans, you know, the same way that the Elite didn't come out during the Kenny Bryan match. Like, it's a pick and choose kind of thing. It's just, like I said, I just think that was the only time where, like, the timing of the show felt just a tad off, because it felt like they just missed the timing by like 3-4 minutes at most. Like, but yeah,
like
I don't have too much of a problem with that kind of ending normally. But yeah, overall, still a fun match, and you know, the right call to end the show if you're not ending with Brian Omega.
Yeah, and you know, like you said before, you know, if the timing was off on that, imagine the timing on Kenny and Brian. And I do have to agree with, you know, it felt right that the women, especially Britt, were main eventing. You know, it made sense. I think it's a good spot to help continue to elevate the women's division, which we all agree is something AEW needs to continue to do. So I'm very happy they went on last. We're going to continue on here now into Rampage. I know we brought up the Punk match before. I do believe we're putting this out into Rampage, so you don't have to worry about spoilers, obviously, if it's already aired. So the first match that they had after Max Caster got verbally eviscerated by Tony Khan and Lou.
Actually, yeah, can we talk about that? Because actually,
oh yes, let's please talk about Lil Uzi Vert.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this right off the bat. I love Max Caster. I think he's so good. I think he's way past the point of he just does John Cena's old gimmick. Like, no, John Cena rapped to no beat, and he just made the same blow me reference over and over and over again. Like, that's all John Cena ever did. Like, Max Caster makes modern pop culture references, political references that are going to, without a doubt, get him in trouble again. And, you know, he references really fucked up things that have happened in the world, which sometimes I guess is going to land him in trouble. But he is so good. I was so, like, all night, like, my friends that I was with, I told them, like, months ago, I was like, yeah, like, listen to Max Caster's raps. Like, don't, like, it's hard because, you know, you got to scroll through, like, an hour and a half of dark to, like, find his stuff. But, like, I think he's so creative. And I'm not even, like, the biggest rap guy. I'm just, like, a, like, casual, like, fan of rap. Like, I know Lil Uzi Vert, but I don't know his songs. Like, I just know the name, you know, kind of thing. But I've been a fan of Max Caster. I've been super excited to come see him. And I knew he was going to be on the show, whether it was on Dark, whether it was on Elevation, Rampage, or just the Dark segment. I know he's been doing a lot of the Dark segments before shows. So I was actually really excited for this. And when I was on my way to the stadium with my friends, I was telling them, I was like, the best part, I don't know if you saw Max Caster's first rap back after getting suspended.
I think I did.
Yeah, the whole thing was like, oh, this rap has been pre-approved by AEW management.
Was amazing, yeah.
And it started off with, we are the Acclaimed, and I'm here to say. And to me, that is so beautiful, because if you ever watch a movie or a TV show or just hang out with like white people who don't know anything about rap and they try to rap, it always, every single time starts with, I am so-and-so, and I'm here to say. That's how every white person who doesn't know how to rap raps all the time. So the fact that it started with that had me rolling.
And then
literally Tony comes.
Too, yeah.
Yes. So it was beautiful. Like, Tony's rap was god-awful, but in the I know this is bad type of way. So I loved that. I don't even know, was that actually on the show? That was just the Dark segment. That wasn't even on the show. So like, but that was so good. Put Max Caster on TV. Like, he is so great. I don't know why Lil Uzi Vert came out. He didn't even rap. Like, that was kind of weird. But like, they could have had, like, Fabulous was in line for merch behind us. Like, when we were getting merch, like, Fabulous was like right behind us. Like, Jadakiss was in the crowd.
Yeah,
so many rappers there.
Yeah, like, you're in New York City, and yeah, you get Lil Uzi Vert.
And then he doesn't rap. So why was he? Did he write that for Tony Khan? Because then I'm not listening to songs if he wrote that. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, was the implication that Lil Uzi Vert wrote that? Because I mean, granted, I think Lil Uzi Vert's trash, but so that would make sense to me. But you really want to put your name on that, bro? Like, come on. My name's Tony Khan, and I'm here to say, like. And the Acclaimed another 30 days or so. There was something like that.
Yeah.
Tony is the perfect dork, and I mean it with the utmost respect and just
absolutely
loving it. He's so good at it. Caster and the Acclaimed, they did Newark Stark segments too right before Dynamite started. And
I watched that.
Right after it ended, and I missed both of them, and I was so mad. So I'm so happy I caught this one.
They're over. This is not like this is like a weird thing that I like this guy, but like, dude, they got pops. I remember when at the Double or Nothing Battle Royal, Christian got booed when he eliminated Max Caster from it.
Yeah.
Like, he's over. He is so over. Put him on TV.
I'll tell you what, he made a joke about Bill de Blasio sucking, and he
got a standing ovation.
It's one of the best pops of the night after, like, maybe Bryan. Like, people were like,
he literally had to stop rapping, and then like the flow of the song was messed up because people were cheering for like 10 seconds after that.
Yeah, it completely threw him off. He was like, wait, what? I was just like, oh man, it's clearly not from New York. All right, so like I said, once Tony Khan verbally eviscerated Max Caster and had the Varsity Blondes come out and beat the shit out of them, we had the Super Click against, as my freaking Mac dies and I don't remember who, against Christian and Jurassic Express. This was one of those matches where I think we all knew the outcome, but they put on a really good match. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I'm trying to think if this is my first time watching a Bucks match. I think it might be.
Yeah.
They didn't wrestle last week, so yeah, this is my first time watching a Bucks match, which was awesome. I've seen Adam Cole wrestle at NXT.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had so much fun watching this match. First time seeing a Christian match too, which is also cool. Maybe all these guys. I don't know. It was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of new stuff for me. But I had a blast watching this. So, how about you? I imagine you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
Oh, yeah. This was just fun. It was such a fun match. This is also my first time seeing the Young Bucks. I didn't go to a lot of indie shows back in the day. So this is my first time seeing the Young Bucks. Not my first time seeing Christian, but or Adam Cole, but for Lucha Express and Young Bucks, first time, dude. Oh my God, Adam Cole is so over.
So is Jungle Boy.
Yeah,
That
was Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
Luchasaurus is so, when he gets his hot tag, he is so over. It is insane.
He's he's a little slow, but it doesn't matter. Like his hot tags are so hot.
And I was that kid that I loved Sting and I loved Kane. Like those are my favorite wrestlers as a kid. So if I was a kid, it would probably be Luchasaurus. So like I get it. And he does the choke slam, but he does them from weird angles, not just the basic one. Like he would take him off the top rope and actually like follow all the way through with the choke slam. Like he does a lot of good big men move. He's definitely a little slow, especially for AEW standards, but it's one of those, the crowd loves him. Doesn't matter. Like he is ridiculously over,
and he's still athletic as hell. Like I've never rare a guy that big can do a kip up like that, and he's very flexible. So he hits a lot of awesome moves. So even if he's a little bit slower, you could just chalk that up to him being more powerful. And kayfabe, go with it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, like dinosaurs aren't that fast unless they're like velociraptors, so it makes sense. But what I was gonna say about Adam Cole being over, just one of the things, my friend was like, oh, his theme song's so good, and I'm like, it's literally 2 lines over and over again. His theme song, like, it's all about the boom, Adam Cole, baby. And it was just that like over and over again, but it's like it's so simple but so effective. It's literally taken like what was cool about the Undisputed Era theme and just changing it so it's different enough. And that's all it needed to be. But yeah, Adam Cole was over. The spots they did where he had, I think it was Jungle Boy he had in the camel clutch, and the Young Bucks just kept running the ropes, and then instead of actually kicking him, they just kissed Adam Cole on the cheek.
Adam Cole kiss.
So good. Such a fun spot. Everything about this match it was a good match, but it's hard to talk about it in any other way besides saying it was just really, really fun. Like
it was and honestly, that's what you get out of those super click matches. It was almost a bit of a PWG feel, like a little bit, right? Where it was just like fun and obviously a lot less cursing and a much different crowd. But like it was one of those very fun matches where they just went hard and hit a lot of cool spots and just did some funny shit. Like I thought it was great. I thought it was a good way to start Actually, it was the second match on Rampage. Excuse me, Punk was first. So I thought it was a good follow to that, and it helped keep the night going. And honestly, it was kind of right after that the crowd started slowly, I think, to get tired.
Also with that match, I think I said it a couple weeks ago, but Brandon Cutler is so good at his job.
He really is.
Oh my God! Like my group of friends, one of the guys. He hadn't watched wrestling. It's like one of those classic cases. Like he hadn't watched wrestling in a few years, and he was like, I was talking about AEW, and he was like, all right, I'll check it out. Like, and I was he was dying every time Brandon Cutler sprayed the cold spray. He was just like, what is this guy doing? Like, it's so great. And I think we hear people say it all the time, but it's like one of those times where like, oh, I got to experience it firsthand. Someone who stopped watching wrestling, like watch AEW, and they'd be like, oh, this is great. Like this show is fantastic. But anyway, Brandon Cutler, so good at his job. He's an amazing goon. I can't believe he was anything else before that. He's so good.
Yeah, honestly, I even enjoyed his work back when he was doing stuff with Peter Avalon and they had their feud. I thought that was some really funny stuff over on Dark. And
they couldn't win a match. Like they kept drawing. Like they couldn't win.
They have, if I'm not mistaken, they have like the only disqualification in the entire history of AEW because they both got DQ'd.
The only other one
too. I think they both.
Yeah,
it was like they both have the only matches that happened with because it just extended the neither of you can win bit, and they literally had to get Tony Khan involved. I thought that was hilarious.
It was, and I watched some BTE, and when they had the segment with Cutler and Avalon a few weeks ago, where Peter Avalon was like, now you cheat? Like, he's like, oh yeah, I cheat now. It turns out, yeah, you were right. Like, I should have been cheating.
Yeah, I love that too. Gotta love another thing that's great about AEW continuity. No matter, even in BTE, the continuity is undeniable.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm trying to think of what else we had because, like I said, my Mac literally decided to reset on me. I know we had the Anna Jay and Penelope Ford match. It was solid. I'm kind of interested to see what they do with Anna Jay. She returns and she loses 2 straight matches, and gets knocked out both weeks with the brass knuckles. But I think the bigger story there was the Dark Order coming out after, and all of them came out along with Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander, because the Hardy family office was out, and they all came out, and the combination of Reynolds and Silver, who had a great match on Elevation, by the way, he had an awesome spot. It was a reminiscent of that Cesaro spot where he was in that tag and he took out like Gallows and Anderson and like 3 other dudes just running around in a circle.
Yeah, the whole running wild, around the ring. Oh yeah, that's the same thing I thought too. Was like, oh, that's just like when Cesaro used to do that in tag matches.
Yep.
Yeah.
So so the 2 of them, 10 and 5, extended their hands to Uno to like try to make peace, and he walked away. And when he got to the stage, he almost went to the heel tunnel, and he doubled back and went to the face tunnel. So that's going to be interesting. I've been very intrigued by this Dark Order storyline. I'm curious to see if it's leading towards a debut, and maybe somebody tries to take over the Dark Order, and there's a struggle there. We'll see. Did you have any thoughts on that match other than the Dark Order bit after? Or?
I mean, the match was fun. It came, unfortunately, one of the few times where the crowd was like, "Okay, we're like tired now. Like this is a long show." But even then, like Anna Jay was still over. Like I can't say as much for Penelope Ford. She was there, but like Anna Jay was still kind of over. Everyone likes Anna Jay. But yeah, the post match was fine. I'm okay with them getting beat down like twice in a row. I think maybe not with Anna Jay, but Ty Conti seems like that type of baby face who, gets beat down until they finally overcome. So I'm okay with that. The Dark Order stuff was good. What complaints did we hear about the Dark Order stuff again? I
don't know. Eric was complaining that the match I skipped was the Santana and Ortiz and Lucha Brothers faced off against the Hardy family office with it being Private Party and Butcher and the Blade. And then the match next was the Anna Jay and Penelope Ford match. And during the match, Bunny came out to help her, and then Hardy family office came out after. And he was like, "Why would they have them on twice?" And I was like, "Well, because they came out to celebrate a win and try to, keep anybody else from coming in after Ty had run in to try to save Anna." Like, it makes sense, dude. Like, stop saying it doesn't make sense. It made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, you could be against seeing them twice. You could be like, I don't want to see these guys twice. That I understand, but it does make sense why they would be.
Yeah. Continuity-wise, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's the thing with AEW, and that's what you're going to have when your whole show is based around factions. Like, you're not just going to... Yeah, and in that same light, Orange Cassidy was out there twice. He punched, was it Jack Evans?
Yeah, and that was the early...
the Dark Order came out.
Yeah, that was the early Hardy family office match. It was actually... It was the match right before. It was Santana and Ortiz and the Lucha Brothers against... Butcher and the Blade and Private Party, and Hardy had a pair of scissors, and in order to continue this, I guess, hair match against Orange Cassidy, he was going to cut off Ortiz's braid, and Orange came out, and Hardy just stopped. And then Jack Evans hopped on the ramp, and he got Orange punched.
But what I will 100% agree with Eric in the notion that I don't think Hardy's act is that strong to be on TV multiple times. Like, I love Private Party. I love Matt Hardy. I love Butcher and Blade. I don't think she should be part of this. I think they should be their own thing.
Or Malachi.
I think they're really, I'd much rather see that. But like, I just think they don't fit like the vibe very well. Like, they have their own like horror kind of theme, like vibe going on, and it doesn't blend well. So I agree that like why are we seeing Hardy so much? But I don't think that it doesn't make sense. I just think I could understand if you like, oh God, like we're seeing this group again, because they are lower card, and it almost to me feels a bit like they're dragging Cassidy down to their level as opposed to going up to his level. But like, what were you gonna say?
It's kind of just giving Orange something to do right now, you know?
Yeah, and that's a lot of people. A lot of people just need stuff to do right now because there's so much going on the show. So this is the kind of things that happen. Like, hell, for Jericho, this is a huge step down for his match, which we'll get to in a little bit. But like, this is a huge step down for Jericho, and that's just, you know, when there's so much going on. Hey, sometimes you just need filler stuff, and this is just the filler stuff. But you know, there's certain acts like Hardy Family or Hardy Foundation and Team Taz that kind of just feel like whenever they're in a feud, it kind of feels endless, like it goes on for too long. Because, you know, until Team Taz started feuding with Punk, everything they did kind of felt like, oh God, like this has been going on for so long. Like,
yeah,
Team Taz was feuding with Darby and Sting for so long.
And before that, Best Friends and Orange, and then and then Cage left, and then they were feuding with him forever. And like the only quick thing they had was the Hangman match, and that was literally just to, you know, further Cage leaving FTW. So yeah, I can see what you're saying. Like they're feuding. Yeah, so like there's certain groups and acts in the show that you're going to get those reactions. So I won't discredit that because I feel that way to an extent. But especially since it's on, like, not to disparage Rampage because I think they're doing a great job of building it up so far, but like, it's Rampage stuff. You need to have different people on Rampage than you had on Dynamite, and they weren't on Dynamite, so you put them on Rampage. It makes sense. But I guess to bring things back to the actual Dark Order sense of it, I was very intrigued by the Uva Uno, like looking at the heel tunnel. Like I picked up on that too. Like I'm glad you clocked that because that was the most interesting part of it to me. I'm enjoying the Dark Order thing. It's they've done a good job of making them so endearing. You actually feel a little sad that they're like crumbling a little bit. I guess to again be an Eric about it, I wish more of this was happening on Dynamite. It's happening on Rampage, so that's a step up. But a lot of this has been going on in like Dark and Dark Elevation, and I can't watch all that. That's too much wrestling in 1 week to watch. So, but I do think this is going to lead to something exciting. We've talked about like it maybe being like a new leader coming in, maybe a new leader comes in, but then Hangman comes back and they almost do a little Civil War. Like, you know, Silver and Reynolds go with Hangman, Uno and Grayson go with whoever this leader might be. I mean, we all think it might be Colt's
this
caught
one
in the
person.
middle, and yeah, Colt seemed very caught in the middle. He wouldn't go in with Uno and Grayson, but he wasn't going.
Yeah,
he just stayed on the ramp. I almost feel bad for Colt.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think even with the real life of it all, like, you know, Colt's story of being brought into the Dark Order was really interesting. I was very much into it. And, you know, then the unfortunate passing of Brody kind of like sped up or not sped up, but it just was like, well, we were slowly building this payoff of him actually bringing Colt in because Colt was hanging out with the Dark Order, but he wasn't part of the Dark Order. He never did the hand thing, and, you know, when Brody died, of course, he did it. That was the first time he did it.
Yeah. And like, they were cheating. They were cheating for him and stuff, and he wasn't really.
And he was oblivious to it. He was just happy to be winning because he was losing so much before that. So like, he really has been caught in the middle since like the Dark Order became faces. Like, he's kind of been the one who was like, well, now I'm just part of you guys. Like, what choice do I have? Like, I can't abandon you now. Like, so he really is. So he's the perfect person to be torn between which side to be on because he is the outsider of the group in a way. Like, because he is the only person they've really recruited in all this time, like is Colt.
Yeah. I guess technically Anna, like, because she didn't start. Yeah, but like,
that's true.
Yeah, she was like handpicked by Brody, and like she went in immediately. Like, Colt was the guy they were slowly bringing him in and bringing him along, you know. So
yeah, and I guess by proxy, Anna Jay brought Ty Conti in. She's like,
yeah, she's more like Dark Order and Friends.
Yeah. But like overall, I don't have any major issues with it. But I get where the criticism comes from. I'm not going to disparage it and say it's.
I will say this to the criticism about Hardy Family Office being on the show too much, at least for this show. I do know, or at least I've heard, a lot of people wanted to be on the show. Like the entire roster wanted to be on the show.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's their biggest non-pay-per-view show they've ever had, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think it definitely is like the biggest one.
Yeah, so everyone, I mean, they gave Paul White a Dark Elevation match. It was like a 3-on-1 handicap match, and the
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and the Gun Club came out just to stand on the apron, or not on the stage, excuse me, and watch. Like they just wanted to get as many people as they could on the show. So, having the Hardy Family Office come out twice, like I'm not complaining. I thought they did a good job of being the guys to lose to Santana Ortiz and Lucha Brothers, which was a very good match. Santana Ortiz obviously very over in New York. Imagine the Puerto Rican guys from New York being over in New York.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, Lucha Brothers also obviously very over. Another fun little match. I love Private Party. I think they're gonna be so good because they're still kids, so they're gonna be great. I can't wait for them to like really, really get pushed in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I mean, again, not to just like keep using the same word, but it was just another fun match. But to your point about the Hardy being all over the show, and people wanting to be on the show, like having Hardy be on the show is how you have Orange Cassidy on the show, and he's like the one, arguably like the biggest star that wasn't in a match or had a pre-announced segment where it's like, I was almost like, damn, we're really not going to hear Where Is My Mind because he did the run-in spot and he didn't have an entrance. Like, I was a little upset at first. So I was actually glad that he came out later with the actual entrance music because, I mean, I really like that song by the Pixies. I think it's a great song. So I wanted to hear it.
It's the end credits to my favorite movie of all time. So I love hearing that song.
But, it was another really fun match.
Yeah, I think Rampage could be best described as fun.
Yeah, everything about it. Like it wasn't too story driven. Like obviously there was everything. All the matches were story based, but it wasn't. That show was not about like having big story beats. It was just about having natural story beats from the pre-established stories. Like nothing was new happened here. Like there just wasn't. It was just all about having a good time, and that's what that entire show was.
Rampage was that, and everyone just yelling "You're" at the top of their lungs, which echoes.
Oh my god, the "You're"! Oh god,
the brand is strong.
We can't even like. I can't even compare that to like hijacking wrestling shows and other places because I don't think it wasn't like disrespectful because it happened a lot during the Punk match. So I don't think the crowd was bored. Like I don't think the crowd was bored during the Punk match. I think that it's just a New York thing. Like you don't you're when you're bored. Like you're not bored. Like you're like like you're when you're excited. You see something exciting. Like, you're like. So that's gonna happen in New York. It happens in WWE shows in New York too. It's just
it happened in Newark. It was started in Newark. Santana Ortiz came out early because I was gonna say honestly they really picked up during that match. I think honestly, like I said before, everyone started getting tired, and instead of like sitting there and chanting outside of like Cerro Miedo, everyone was just just to keep some noise going. As opposed to what you said about things not really driving any more stories, I think the next two things that happened during the show were actually a bit more story driven. The first one being the Jericho and Hager against the Men of the Year match, where they had the Lambert from America Top Team come out and with the Men of the Year, and he ended up costing Hager the match by grabbing his leg, having him trip, and Scorpio Sky rolled him up. The match itself was aight. Like I didn't think it was anything spectacular, but I think obviously the post match was the story here because Jericho and Hager grabbed Lambert to try to kick his ass because he fucked with their win, and all the crew from Top Team who was there last week came out, but more importantly, Jose Masvidal came out, which was a bit of a surprise, and they ended up kicking the ever-living shit out of Hager and especially Jericho. Jericho taking a serious brunt of it. He had the Paige Van Zandt, who, obviously she's the bare-knuckle boxer now. She, gave him a couple body shots, and then Masvidal hit him with that running knee that he knocked the dude out in 7 seconds with. So I think, that is very interesting in terms of story. I wonder what they're going to go with there.
Yeah, so this was my match where, like, I was gone, like, the whole match. Like, I went on a little adventure, and we'll talk about it more, and we'll talk about, like, the cons of being there in a little bit, but, like, I was on a mission to get water and just beverages in general. So I missed almost the entire match. Like, as soon as Judas was done, I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to go get water. I thought I'd be back, halfway through the match, and I didn't get back until the end of the match, and the beatdown was going on. But I will say, because, like, I was saying this when I was, like, waiting in line at the concession stands anyway, I was like, the men of the year need this win. I do not care about them, like, at all. I like Lambert's promos. They're very good. They're very aware. Like, like, he doesn't come off as, like, an actual boomer. He just comes off as someone who knows how, like, boomers sound, So it's very good. It's so well done. But, like, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, they don't really do anything for me in AEW. Like, they haven't, like, Ethan Page had the coffin match with Darby, and that was good, but, like, he hasn't felt on Darby's level or, like, anything higher than mid-card, and even then it's, like, lower mid-card. So I was like, they need this match. I don't care about them really, but, like, I was like, they should win this match. Like, they really need a win, and Jericho can take the loss. Hager, when's the last time he won a singles match? Like, and I don't even remember when he had a singles match besides maybe the Wardlow one. Like,
yeah, he doesn't have a lot of matches, but they do tend to protect him. So I was actually very surprised he lost, or at least took the pin, But I guess Jericho's a more protected guy. And in retrospect, I do think I agree with you that the Men of the Year needed this match more than they did, because those guys are already over. Men of the Year have basically been languishing ever since pretty much the Darby thing.
And they don't really get reactions. Lambert gets reactions. Thank God he's with them now. But, like, they weren't really getting much of a reaction, which is, like, hard to do with AEW crowds, honestly. Like, we're very generous to these wrestlers. And, like,
and it's not like either of those. Yeah, it's not like either of those guys are slouches on the mic either.
No, they're not. Like, I remember Scorpio Sky when he lost his shoe back during the tag team match and, like, the beginning of Dynamite, like, against the Lucha Bros.
Yeah,
dude, that spot was amazing. I loved that match. Like, but it's we're a long way from that, and they, like I said, they needed this badly.
Yeah, I mean, I know James had mentioned. I don't remember if it was during the match or after, but at some point he mentioned. He was like, Ethan Page might be the one dude actually regretting going to AEW, because he was pretty hot in Impact, and he thought he would, he would be moving up in AEW, and he's been kind of languishing, which is a little unfortunate because I like both of these guys. I will say, I don't know if you saw this either though. When Top Team was leaving, Tony Khan came out to yell at them, and I don't know who it was. It might have been Junior Dos Santos. He picked them up and started, like, carrying him out back through the heel tunnel, and then Tony was, like, flipping out. He put him down, and then they started, like, pushing him back through the tunnel. So they're in there. They don't give a fuck, and I think it's kind of cool that there's this, like, almost invasion-like thing with Top Team going on.
Yeah, it's very cool. I guess, and, like, this is not a huge deal because I'm sure we'll get it at some point, but, like, why aren't the Inner Circle help? Like, every member of the Inner Circle was in, like, a situation where they could have used backup at some point, and, like, they didn't do that. Like, I know they've been, fighting their own battles lately, but it's like, in a situation like that, this is where, Santana and Ortiz and Sammy come back out, and I know Sammy got, I don't remember, I think it was after this that Sammy got beat down by Miro, but
yeah, Sammy was definitely after. Santana and Ortiz might have been after the Jericho match too. I might have done this out of order, and for that,
it was a little tough to.
Yeah, so I know James was complaining. He was like, "You have all these factions, and they're doing this and that and the other thing, and then Inner Circle doesn't come out to help Jericho and Hager when they're getting their ass beat by 8 MM8 people. Like,
like you can justify the Sammy one because it already was a 2-on-1. Like Sammy technically had the numbers advantage, and it's like I'm fighting my own battles kind of thing. But like Jericho and Hager were going in to fight a 2-on-2 match, and then they're getting jumped by like how many freaking people after? Where it's like, yeah, this is where your faction comes out. I know because they didn't break up. They're just doing their own things now. They're not, joint.
Yeah. Which I think is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like the factions do that. I'm all for that. But this is the exact kind of situation where like it all, and I'm sure that we'll have that moment in the future. It's just weird that they were all on Rampage. Like it's not even like they were on. Half of them were on Dynamite, and even though we got it all in one night, being there, they're on 2 different days and 2 different shows.
Yeah.
They were all of their stuff was on Rampage. Like they were all there. They were watching. Like Santana and Ortiz are getting their face painted while this is going on. Like,
well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I can kind of justify Santana and Ortiz because, like, they were probably in the back getting ready for a match and not really watching, like, trying to get in the zone, going with game plan with Lucha Brothers. Like I said, keeping it kayfabe. Sammy, I was just like, what is Sammy doing? Writing his cue cards, like, bro.
And apparently he was. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of hard to justify, but at the same time, like, if they all come out and then they all get their shit kicked in, and then like, what, Santana and Ortiz can't have their match in 10 minutes? Like, at a certain point, you just kind of gotta let shit slide, I think.
But I think that would have been a more interesting story though if they were to beat up, and then they could have done like the classic thing where the Lucha Bros are fighting a handicap match until Santana and Ortiz comes limping down the stage like halfway through the match, and they could have done. It's one of those things that honestly,
it would have been a good pop out of New
York. AEW they've built such a better world than that this is one of those little things that isn't that big of a deal, but because they've set such a good tone, it's almost like, oh, like we notice this more because like we expect better from AEW in these situations. This is the kind of attention to detail they normally pay. Yeah. So that makes it a little more noticeable.
But like, if that's your criticism of AEW, like, yay.
Yeah.
Like that, right? Like, God forbid, the worst thing we could say about this 5 hours of wrestling is, oh no, they didn't have the Inner Circle come out and help Jericho and Hager while they're getting their shit kicked in by 8 people who would probably also end their lives.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting your shit kicked in, as you said before, Sammy had his bit, came out with his cue cards again with Fuego, and in order to set up for the TNT title match, you got his shit kicked in by Miro. The both of them did. Fuego went through a table on the floor. Sammy died. I think he got put in the game over, and I forget. Yeah, they just got his ass kicked. So
yeah,
good build to the title match, I believe, which is on Dynamite on Wednesday. So I thought that was cool. It was good to see Miro.
And it was another example of like they just trying to get everyone on the shows, like, because we didn't know Miro and Sammy were going to be on the show. Like, they weren't announced for anything. It was just like everyone wants to be on the show. We're doing our best to get as many people on the show as possible. We're pretty deep in this podcast, but I definitely want to take a cheap shot at someone who's not here to defend themselves right now, and that is James. But man, they really found a way to put on all the big stars on this show. And you know who wasn't on any of the shows? Andrade. So, ooh. What does that say, James?
Did he not get a promo? He might have got a promo, like a backstage vignette. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think he probably got a promo they played in the arena. I don't think he had anything on TV that I saw.
Well, I mean, maybe they played it on. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched the show back. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he got something. The Sammy things though are cool because when he does the cue card things, it's the picture-in-picture stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, is this dark? Like, is this not actually going to be on TV? I was like, oh no, wait, it's the commercial break. So it's a great way to continue. It's not even just a good way to get more people on the show. It's just a great way to continue the story without even having to take any time away from the rest of the show. At least in terms of TV time. So yeah, that was cool. And it just added a little more build to their match next week. Because most of it was done last week with the Fuego Miro match in Newark. which was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had no idea it was for his car until I went home and watched. No clue. I was like, wait a minute, Fuego bet his car. I was so confused.
Oh, man. I mean, it was fun, and I like Fuego, but again, to give criticism where I think it's fair, I thought that was a dumb stipulation, especially for like.
Oh, agreed.
It's like Fuego, where it's like, bro, like you haven't even won a match, and now you're gonna like put your car on the line. Like that's it made him look real stupid. And usually AEW doesn't make baby faces look stupid, but whatever. Like it's Fuego, so it's really not a big deal. Like, but
I think naive would be a better word. But,
yeah, he's a naive.
Yeah, but honestly, they're just using him to build. They were using him to build towards Sammy versus Miro, and I think I think there's a decent chance Sammy takes the title off Miro next week. But that's,
I was gonna ask that. I agree. I think there's a chance because, like, as good as Miro is as champion, it's one of those like I have no idea how this is gonna end, and it honestly doesn't matter when it ends because Miro's been so good. It really doesn't matter whether his reign ends next week or in 5 months. Like it's Miro set. Miro found his character. He is so comfortable in it. He is so in tune with what his character is, so it doesn't matter at this point. But I wanted to, because we were talking about the picture-in-picture, and I wish we had watched the show back at this point, because...
well, this is Rampage. We can't watch it till tomorrow. We are filming this on Thursday, everybody, so...
Well, I was actually tying back to once again talk about the Kenny and Bryan match, but to the spot during the match, I was trying to figure out whether this was in commercial or not because I forgot what I was watching like a review online, and they didn't notice the when Bryan was being counted out, like during the match when Bryan was trying to answer the 10 count, and then he got to his feet and he fell, and the match didn't end then, and Kenny got out of the ring and grabbed him. Because when I saw that in person, I was like, oh, like that's how that made me think Bryan was gonna win, because I'm like, oh, Kenny could have just won by countout right there, like because Bryan fell, like, and so I was like, oh my god, like
such a good cocky heel move there too.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, is he gonna like is this how they protect Kenny? Because he had the match won at this point, like because Bryan couldn't answer the 10 count, but he went out for it. So that really did, because before that I was thinking, okay, it's gonna be a draw, but then I was thinking, okay, so Bryan's gonna win, because I've been going back and forth on that for a while. I was like, oh man, like that really made me believe it. So like that was one of those things I was like, man, I was trying to figure out what parts of that match were during commercial, because I haven't seen it yet on TV, so I don't even know what parts were during commercial, because it felt non-stop. Like there was barely rest holds. Like there was not much time where I'm like, I couldn't imagine a commercial break.
Yeah,
like this match barely slowed down.
The rest was literally Bryan selling on the outside, and then I think did he get put through the table?
Oh my god, yeah. Like, from where I was sitting, I couldn't see the table break. I assume it did, but
there was some sort of table thing.
That like where the ring announcers are, like, and they have the bell and everything. But yeah, like I was really like, that's the only time where I was like, was that really during a commercial break? Because I was watching a review and they were like, oh, I don't remember that. I don't think I saw that. I'm like, that felt like a big part of the match to me. Like, but yeah, the way they used picture-in-picture for the Sammy part was great. It just reminded me of what I heard about the Bryan stuff, because like I said, we haven't seen it back yet, so I don't know what ended up being during commercial break. But what do we got left after the?
I do believe the final match was the lights out match. It was Moxley and hometown Eddie Kingston, shout out Yonkers, versus Suzuki going with Suzuki and Lance Archer. I like those type of lights out matches. Obviously all the big spots are really cool. They are a bit plotting because, you got to go out, you get the weapon, you got to set it up, so they can be a little slow. Although I think having 4 people helps, because one guy can go do stuff and then the other guy can, the other 2 guys can keep fighting as like the 4th guy's dead outside somewhere. It was a lot of fun. Eddie, I thought the end with Eddie just massing the shit out of a garbage can over Archer's head with a kendo stick was hilarious. And Homicide showed up. Yeah, remember him? Yeah, so Homicide came out to help Eddie, which got a huge pop.
Yeah.
Good way to end the night. So what'd you think about that match? Because I had a great time watching it.
Oh yeah, same. Same word I keep using. It was a lot of fun. Word
of the day is fun, people.
Yeah. What choice do we have? Like, it's just like I couldn't help but have fun. Like I couldn't.
It was a blast. That whole night was just a blast. It really was.
But I was so. A couple of my friends were at the show, but I wasn't sitting with them. One of them watches New Japan regularly, but his brother doesn't. Like, he just started watching AEW and to get back into wrestling. So like, he didn't get Suzuki. He was like, okay, like, it's these guys from Japan. I get it. There's hype. Like, he knows enough to know like when he knows there's hype when there's hype. Yeah. But then he saw the match in Cincinnati with Moxley. He was like, I don't get it. He was like, that wasn't that good of a match. And it wasn't. Like, the timing was messed up. And I kept saying before the show, like, dude, there's too much on the show. They're going to fuck up the timing. If they fucked up the timing in Cincinnati where that show wasn't as big, like, how are they going to do it here? And like, for the most part, I don't think they did. Like I said, I think the women's match could have used 2 or 3 more minutes. But other than that, timing went perfectly. But anyway, so like, he was just like, I don't really see the big deal with Suzuki, but then being there and seeing this match, he was like, okay, like, I get it now. Like, and that's one of those things. Like, he got off to a bad start in AEW because they're still young and they make these kind of mistakes. These are like growing pains mistakes. So like, and I get that because I don't know about you, but I really didn't think the Moxley Suzuki match from Dynamite was too good.
Well, I also think it would point to your timing thing. It's a lot easier to figure out the timing on a Rampage than on Dynamite because they have a hard network out on Dynamite. Rampage, they can just let go, not as long as they want, but within you run a few minutes over, you cut a little off from commercial, and you're fine. Because so it's a bit different, and I think that actually probably let the match flow a bit better as opposed to that Cincinnati match you mentioned. Yeah,
but it was just good for the. Because, as smart as AEW audience is, and as much as we know about these wrestlers who come in from other places, and we get why it's a big deal, not everyone watching AEW does. The lapsed fan is not going to know anyone from New Japan. Like, the lapsed fan is not going to, I think it was one of the earlier criticisms, like when the Butcher and the Blade debuted, Excalibur was like, oh, of course, that's the Butcher and the Blade. Like, everyone knows that. And, like, but no one did. JR didn't know. Like, I didn't know. And it's like, you can't act like we know all these people. You got to explain to us why some of these people are a big deal. And like, they've come a long way from that. And, for the fans there was going to be fans who didn't know because, like I said, they've only started watching wrestling again because of AEW. And this was the match that showed them why so many people were singing along to Suzuki's theme. Like, why so many people were hyped for this. Like, this was what showed it. Like, the charisma he was exuding like during this match, like when he was getting chopped by Eddie and he just starts laughing, like that
was such a good spot.
His supervillain haircut, like it's like animated supervillain haircut. That's not even like a real life supervillain haircut. Like
he just looks like he's been like cut on his head a bunch of times. It's just all scars running through his eyes.
He looks like he's been dropped in like a vat of acid and it just burned off like a portion of his.
Or like he got like mauled by like a lion or something. Yeah. And all the claw marks running through his hair.
But this,
which I would believe.
Yeah, I believe that. If you told me he had like a last man standing match against a mountain lion, but yeah, I believe that. And
maybe that's why he always attacks the young lions, is because he just holds grudges against lions.
Nice, but
what a terrible joke.
So fun. No, it was great. We gotta be proud of our terrible jokes here.
Oh god, I made so many to James the other day, and I'm so mad I can't remember them because I told him to tell me what they were, and I just don't remember. I'm so upset. I made some brutal ones.
Awesome. Man, but yeah, like the spots in this match were great. I love the duct tape thing. I love the way. Oh my god, some of the spots that he was taking while duct tape, I was like, God, like
he took a suplex on his back with his wrist back there. I was like, how did he not break them?
Like,
so difficult.
That's such a. I don't like thinking about that spot because all I think about is like everything that can go wrong in those kinds of.
Out of all the people to take that though, Moxley is one of the guys I trust the most because he's so experienced with that. I also like the fact when Homicide did cut him out, he kept his hands back and completely pulled the shit out of Suzuki.
It was nice, but I was actually my seats were like really good, so I had like a good view of it. It was kind of funny because when Homicide went to cut it, like the duct tape just kind of came off his wrist, like it was already loose enough that it just slid right off, so he didn't actually get to cut it.
The sweat.
It just kind of like slipped right off. So he was just like, whatever. He just went with it. Like he didn't even like hesitate to just act like he cut it in, but it was already like coming off. Yeah. It was hilarious.
As someone who may or may not have used some paper towels and duct tape to seal a few wounds before, the sweat kills the glue on duct tape pretty quick.
Oh man, it's tough. Like you said, the ending spot with the kendo stick on the trash can was great. I liked that Archer, beat up the staff members around ringside. Yep. He does that kind of stuff often, but I like that it played in the match a few minutes in when he put them all together and threw Moxley into them.
Also, if you were there early enough, they were the 4 jobbers who faced the Dark Order on Elevation.
Oh, that was them, really?
Oh my guys,
God,
yeah.
That's hilarious.
The one guy I thought was Nick Nemeth, and
oh my God, he did look like Nick Nemeth.
And I was like, oh yeah, and then that was the guy I thought was Cesar Bononi because I thought they were the wingmen when they first came out. I was like, wait, that's not them because that one dude is not wide enough.
Oh man, but yeah, it was great. I think we have to talk about the post match, like the dark segment, the send the crowd home. Yeah. First of all, super sweet. Eddie could barely speak. Like his voice was pretty much gone. Like he sounded like he's been crying. Like
I was gonna say he was cracking. Like because he was talking about his mother and thanking his mother and a couple other people. So yeah, I definitely thought he was gonna. He almost lost it, but he kept it together.
I mean, I think he probably had a few moments during the match when he was like laying on the floor where he let it get to him and he soaked it all in then. But he addressed a line from the Madison Square Garden show that Roman Reigns had where he said, I run this town, or we run New York City, kind of line. And Eddie, have the nice line and say, oh, well, we actually run New York. And, I wasn't at the Madison Square Garden show, so I would be interested to hear James compare the two atmospheres. But, like, I was at WrestleMania 35, and, like, this atmosphere was, maybe it's recency bias, but, like, this atmosphere was incomparable. Like, it was unbelievable. So Eddie returned fire, claimed AEW's stake in New York, and and he had the nice line about when they were first there, they were planting their flag in the dirt, but now they're planting it in the concrete.
Yeah,
I thought that was really a really nice line. They sent the crowd home happy, and then they what was the song they played? It was
New York, New York.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why I was like Sinatra. I was like, yeah, okay. They played New York, New York.
As a Met fan, I was a little upset. We're right next to Citi Field. I wore my Met hat just to make sure. We're right next to Citi Field, and you're gonna play New York, New York. Give me a break. But
there was so many Mets jerseys in the crowd too. Like I kept seeing it.
Was a little surprised. We didn't get a Mets quip out of like Caster or somebody. And B, a little surprised I didn't get a "Let's Go Mets" chant out of that. I was pretty sure I was gonna get one, but
yeah, that that is a little surprising. And that's one thing where
MJF would have been the guy to make that joke, and he didn't have a promo. So
that's another reason I didn't want the Pillman MJF match to happen. I just wanted MJF to cut a promo. Like I didn't want that match. I'd much rather him shit on us for 5 minutes. Like,
don't worry, you would have been able to hear it. If I couldn't hear it in Newark, you were gonna fucking hear it in there. Even if their sound system was better than it was in Newark.
But imagine him fucking turning to his mom in the crowd and cutting a promo on her. It would have been amazing. And then we would have got our Mets dig because, But you know what? Whatever. It was still like I said, they sent the crowd home happy. Eddie was so sincere. Like
They
this
must
wasn't.
they must have had a
No.
hard 12 o'clock a.m. cutoff, because after the match, Eddie got the mic after they cleared. And
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I know,
he
I
was
got,
like,
I got one
I
minute."
know, I only got a minute. Like, I don't give a shit. And then he's like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'm not wrapping up. Like, he's just like, I'm going to keep going. Like, he did not give a damn. That was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, like, I know concerts aren't allowed to go past 12 o'clock. Like, it's like a weird law in, like, New York and stuff. So they definitely were, like, legally supposed to end before midnight. But technically the show was over. So I guess that was the, like, loophole where it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter that I'm still talking. The show's over. Like, people are leaving. It's just saying goodbye as they're leaving, basically.
What are you going to do? Fine me? Eddie Kingston, probably.
Yeah,
all right,
sure, it's not the first time he's been fined.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up the in-ring stuff. There was a couple of outside of the ring things I wanted to discuss in terms of the show. First thing I wanted to talk about was one of our other hosts, also Nick, was also at the show. It was nice to see finally meet him in person for the first time.
I didn't meet any of you guys in person. I feel bad.
Well, we were in way different sections. Nick was literally right next to us. If you guys saw the Instagram stories, I actually posted pictures from his seats because my phone camera's broken. So, so he actually ran into somebody from the city who told him that the city actually did not want this show to go on. And he did a bit of research into it. And what he ended up saying was, I don't know who runs the U.S. Open. I don't know if it's USTA. I guess it's USTA, the Tennis Association.
Probably.
I assume it's some sort of combination between them, the city of New York, and the Parks Department, and whatever. They didn't want the show to happen because there wasn't going to be enough crossover promotion with the actual U.S. Open. And eventually, AEW just convinced them that they should have it on the terms of, hey, we're going to bring in a fuck ton of money. So my first thought was, well, yeah, that's Bill de Blasio's government at work. But I don't know, any thoughts to that? That just sounds stupid to me. Does it to you?
I do think it's stupid, but I can't say I'm too surprised because I just think that the outside, like people outside of the wrestling bubble just don't get it sometimes, and they just don't see it. They just don't look at wrestling the same way, like this, as big of an attraction as they look at it, like sports or anything else. And I can see it from like that perspective, especially where it's like, you know, no offense to tennis, because I think all sports are fun to play, maybe not as much to watch sometimes, but like I can understand tennis like not getting it. Tennis feels like a way different world than like wrestling or even than other sports. Like I can see why, like, you know, football would get it, basketball would get it. They take aspects of the wrestling characters and apply it to their athletes sometimes. Like, you know, they kind of dip into that world, but tennis doesn't do that. You don't have like, as far as I know, you don't have people who are going to have a tennis match against each other, cutting promos on each other or talking trash like that. You know, they don't have that. So I could see like the two worlds being so far apart that they don't get the appeal. I could see that. I think it's stupid, but I can almost see that happening.
See, part of me doesn't get that, though, because you look at a place like Madison Square Garden, right? Obviously, WWE built their legacy there, you know, and they still have right of first refusal, which is why no one, like, almost ever runs Madison Square Garden, because WWE can be like, no, you can't, like, it's ours. So, you know, you look at places like that, and then you look at, obviously, you know, MetLife has had 2 WrestleManias. Like, obviously, wrestling draws. And even if you want to be a little skeptical about the new kids in town, like I think AEW has proven they can draw a huge crowd, and they had almost 21,000 people in there, and that with them missing a good 6 sections of seats, you know. So
also to be said that people were sitting like behind the stage, like
yeah, I don't think they sold those seats because at a certain point those people were moved. Yeah, I was talking to James. I was like, why don't they sell those? And it was like, oh, because they have those like chandelier looking things.
Yeah,
probably obstructed view. But even then, like you could have
put people in there for a while.
People would have went. I bet guarantee if you sold obstructed. Wow, it's getting late. I can't talk no more. You sold obstructed view seats for a bit of a discount, they would have sold that up, no problem. So I don't understand what the city had against this. I think it's just the city being idiots. And I mean, what'd you want? So, like Serena Williams or Coco Gauff on the show? Like, you know, they probably could have managed that. Like, I don't know what the hell they wanted. They're just being idiots, probably.
Yeah.
So the other thing I think we both wanted to discuss was just our experiences with the stadium itself, not necessarily the show and the seats and everything, because I think we can both agree that the seating arrangement and everything was very good. I know my seats were good. You like your seats at least? You know, everything.
See, I actually my whole seating situation is part of my story about
okay, yeah,
the experience.
All right, well, like I said before, I was up, so I could see everything. I was dead center. It was great, and I got a lot to say, so I'm gonna let you go first because I'm gonna probably take a couple minutes.
Sure. So I had just an interesting experience. All turned out, for the most part, for the best. But like I said, when I got there, we were trying to find parking, and the guy who was driving, it turns out he went to high school with one of the guys working there, so he let us park real close, and we got super lucky with that. So we're going in. It's about 20 minutes till the show's going to start. It's like 6:40, around there. We're going in. It's real smooth at this point. Like, there's people, but it's moving quick. It's not like I know the lines were crazy before then, like before they started letting people in. But
I got there way earlier than you, and the lines were insane.
Yeah, I heard. But so we go in, and I'm supposed to be in section 30, and it's like decent seats. It's not floor seats. It's the section right above. Like, so it was going to be like good seats, but right slightly bad view, like, because I'm going to be right next to the stage, so I wasn't going to be able to see people coming out of the entranceway, but you know, once they got onto the ramp, I'd be able to see them. So we go to the section that it says on our tickets, and the guy's like, oh, you got to go to, like, you have to go to gate 10 and then walk back around, and we're supposed to be at gate 12, and then they come down, we're like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. So we go to gate 10, and we go to the person that works there standing there, and we're showing them, like, oh, like, these are our seats, and they're like, oh, you got to go to gate 12, and we're like, but we just came from gate 12, and they told us to come here, and it's like, no, you gotta enter the gate 12. I was like, but our section's right there, but it's blocked off by caution tapes. We're like, what? She's like, well, clear. And this is where, like, I had to bet, like, this lady was super rude. Like, everyone else I dealt with in the stadium was nice, but this lady was just like, well, it's clearly not an option, so this isn't even a conversation. I was like, what do you mean it's not a conversation? Our tickets say this section. Yeah, I see the section is blocked off, but, like, can you explain to us why? What are we supposed to do now? Like, you're telling us to go back where we came from, where we got sent here. It was like one of those, like, damn, like, I don't want to be a Karen right now, but like oh, you're sending us, like, on a goose chase right now. So we go back, and, like, in my head, this is a testament to how badly I wanted to see Max Caster. I'm thinking this segment with him, like, rapping Tony Khan, I know it's not going to be on TV, so I'm thinking this is, like, going to be the first thing that happens before they start recording anything. So I'm like, bro, if I miss this, I'm going to be so tight. I'm going to be so tight if I miss this. My friend's the same way. We're all super excited to see it. So we go back to the same gate we originally went to, and the guy's like, what? And he's like, okay, like, hold on. And he calls someone else over, and then she's like, okay, like, they basically, our seats were too close to the stage, and that section ended up getting taped off. And I saw throughout the night that actually, like, security or people that worked there were sitting in those seats throughout the show. So, like, it was just too close to the entranceway, so, like, we couldn't sit there. So they were going to bring us to different seats, which is, like, fine, but, like, no one was explaining that to us. So it was kind of like, why are we going back and forth? And it's like, now it's, like, literally 8 minutes until the show's about to start, and we're like, God damn it. So they walk us around. So now I've done an entire lap around the whole bottom half of the arena. Like, literally went from gate 1 all the way around to gate 12, the long way, not even like the, oh, well, gate 1's here and gate 12 is going to be here. Like, we ended up going all the way around because of this. I
think there's like 40 gates, so you actually probably, like, took the long way, and it was still longer to go.
Yeah, I was sweating. I felt so gross. I had to, like, sit still for a little bit but whatever. So they take us to the section, and instead of, we were going to be on the side of the stage, now we're directly across from the stage. So we have a perfect view of the entrance, and we have a perfect view of the ring. and the section they put us in was like blocked off by a gate. So we had to like open a gate to get in, and there's only 2 rows of seats. So there's like only like 16 people can fit in this little section. It's almost like one of those little box sections you have to like buy like expensive tickets for, like a baseball game or whatever. And it's
or a tennis match.
Yeah. So it ended up like being amazing where it's like, bro, I was so mad, and we got these seats and I'm like, okay, this is literally like we would have to pay like over $100 more than what we paid for our tickets to get these seats. And now we're kind of almost in our own private section. And I was like, oh, this is so much better. Like I literally had like a little like a railing and a little brick wall in front of me. So we got to put our feet up and like kick back. And like, you know, I always like having those seats because you can actually like, there's room to walk, there's room to put your stuff down. We don't got to worry about it like being kicked over. Like, and it turned out it was beautiful. Like I posted some of the pictures I had on the podcast page too, because my view was so good and just more than I paid for. And it was very frustrating, but it turned out like to be amazing in the end. We got way better seats than we planned, and that's where I had like such a good view of everything. And like that's why I said earlier I can hear chants coming from up top, but then I could also hear them like beneath me, and it was great. It was just super frustrating because no one explained that to us, and it's like why didn't the first person that saw our seats and saw what section we're in like explain that to us? Why did we have to go back and forth to deal with that? And then my second biggest issue was around when the Jericho match started. I was like, okay, I need to go get water. I was dying by the end of the show. Like, I did not want to miss the women's match, but I was really considering like going to get water because I was so thirsty. I was like getting dehydrated. But I was like, no, this is like maybe third most like match I was excited to see. So I don't want to miss it. So okay, like I'll see what starts Rampage and then I'll go then. But then the freaking Punk match starts Rampage and I'm like, God damn it, okay. But then the Super Click match happens. And I'm like, oh my God, like no, like I need to go get water, but I don't want to miss any of this. So finally the Jericho match happens. I'm like, hey, again, like I said, I don't care about Men of the Year. That's why they needed the win. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to go get water. I go to the concession stand, and I'm waiting online. And then literally as the person before me goes up, they're like, oh, I just want a bottle of water. And I'm just like, oh, we don't have bottles of water anymore. It's like, and then they announce like, oh, no beverages, like at all. I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding? No beverages? I'm like, yeah, if you have a cup, we can fill your cup of water. And I'm like, I don't have a cup. I finished my beer like an hour and a half ago. Like I was so mad. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go to the water fountain and then I'm gonna find another stand. So I have to go to the water fountain. I'm literally like, I have such bad dry mouth at this point. Like I'm dying, and like I can hear the crowd, but I'm like, whatever. Like again, unfortunately, this is the match I chose to skip. I get the water. I go to another stand. Same thing. They announce like no beverages. I'm like, oh my God. I go to the third stand. They have beverages, and they still have cups. So like they didn't have bottles of water anymore, but they at least had cups of water to give out. Having to pay, whatever it was for what was probably it was probably like $6. I had to pay for freaking tap water. Like at that point, it was madness. And it's like, okay,
you
like
paid $6 for a cup.
Yeah, and not even a nice cup. It didn't have any cool designs on it or anything. Like it was freaking garbage. Cup. And like I said, I missed the entire tag match because of that, and it was just absolutely terrible. And it's like, besides the one lady who was super rude, the rest of the staff was pretty nice. It's just that one lady who was like, most people working in stadiums are, young 20-something-year-olds, and I don't think this is a controversial statement to make. 20-something-year-olds have better customer service than 30-plus-year-olds who are still working in these kinds of jobs. And the lady who was rude to me was definitely over the age of 30. So it made sense. But yeah, it was a nightmare just trying to literally get hydrated when the only point where I was like, dude, this night is so crazy. I've put so much energy into chanting, and there's been so many moments that took me to the edge of my seat or made me stand up or got me so excited. So like, I'm beat. My body is like, hey, like you can't just drink beer. Like you need you need to drink some water. You need to put some food in your system. You need to, gain some energy back. And I had to go on another hike just to do that. And I don't know, like, yeah, I know it's a long show, but like that kind of stuff, just to run out of water, like that's insane to me.
I think to me, this whole thing just, and what I'm going to say, and two, is just points to a complete lack of preparedness on the part of the people who run Arthur Ashe Stadium. I don't know if that ties back into the city not wanting the show. I mean, that's pure speculation, but these folks were not prepared. I mean, I can tell you my experience right now. This was the worst experience I've ever had in a stadium in terms of just, concessions and getting around and everything. By far the worst. The first thing the first thing I noticed was when I took the subway out there, because that's how I get to Met games. It's just easier for me. I do it all the time. And so for those of you who haven't been in that area, the basic setup is you have Citi Field, and then that area, and then you have the subway stop, and then there's a long boardwalk, about 200 yards, right? Give or take, maybe 3.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, and then you have that goes over one of the Citi Field parking lots, and then you get to the LIRR train tracks, the Long Island Railroad train tracks, and then you get down to the park, and then you can go into the complex with all the tennis courts. And what they had us doing was walk from the subway station all the way up to the end of the boardwalk, back down around, and then back up again. When about halfway through going back up,
oh my God,
they were like hand waving your COVID, your vaccination cards. Like they were just like, "Hey, just have the card out." And it's just like, it's a yellow piece of paper. Cool, go. I was like, okay, like it looked like that. You ever see the gif of that old security guy got just waving his hands across everybody and then letting them through into the stadium? It was that essentially. So I had already walked about half a mile, and I haven't even gotten to the park yet. So I go through the park, get in. They hand wave my vaccination status again, and then scan my ticket, and then it's another like quarter of the mile to the front gate of Arthur Ashe. So I'm like a good like 3/4 of a mile, and I'm not even in the stadium yet. Yeah, and so I get to the front gate where they conveniently have a water fountain right in front of the gate, so everyone has to funnel around it. Great design, people. And I then proceed to enter what is the narrowest concourse I've ever been in a stadium in my life. They are not much wider than my high school hallways. And with all the foot traffic going on in this stadium, you had almost 21,000 people there. It was so narrow, it was so tight, and it was only exacerbated by the fact that they were clearly understaffed that day, because the food lines were wrapped halfway around the stadium. The merch lines were going all the way around. It was unbelievable. The merch lines were still going when the show ended. They were still selling.
Really? Okay, so
yeah, I got out. They were still they not only the merch was the only thing still open, and there were people still online.
So I will say that one difference that I guess like one lucky thing about where I was sitting, because I was in the lower section, was that the lines weren't too crazy. They were only crazy before the show started, but like every time I went to use the bathroom, there was like no one online, to the point where I'm like, oh, I could literally go buy a t-shirt and in the time it took me to go pee. So that's the only like difference between my experiences, that like the lines were a lot better on the lower section. But anyway,
I got lucky one time with the bathroom, and I was in it. Like I said earlier, I knew I was gonna have to sacrifice a segment or two just to use the bathroom, get beer, get food, which I wasn't able to do. Like I didn't get real food. I had a pretzel and popcorn. That was it the whole night. Because
when I went to get a pretzel, they were all sold out.
That's the burger. That was another thing too. They were selling out things like crazy. The burger lines were almost as long as the merch lines. It was unbelievable. And with all these people in these narrow ass corridors, I don't know how the hell that's not a fire hazard. It was just an unbelievably just bad experience. And then, like you said, they stopped serving stuff at 10 o'clock for a show that ended at midnight. I was upset they stopped serving beer, which I just thought was nonsense. Side note, what type of stadium only has Amstel Light and Heineken? But that's another conversation. But so you stop serving concessions 2 hours before the show ends, including, like you said, even just having water around for people. Like, no beverages, and you probably when Jericho match maybe came on like 10:15, 10:30, like, is water. Like, you got to give water to people. Like, I know there's water fountains there, but like, what, you're going to charge $6 for a cup? Like, come on. And honestly, I would have been even more upset leaving, because when we got off that out of the stands into the concourse, no one was moving. It was an absolute dead stop. And the only reason we got out of there in any semblance of time is because of James's father. He was able to take the elevator down, so we were able to get out super quick. Otherwise, we probably would have been in there for another hour. Just, I don't know who laid that stadium out. I don't know who decided how many people were working that day. Everything about that was just a terrible, terrible experience, which really sucks because I had a really good time at that show. It was such a good show. It was such a good card. AEW themselves did everything right. And
it was like two different worlds. There was the world when you were in your seat inside the stadium, and then everything around that. Like, once you left your seat and left to go to the corridor, it was a different world. It was
like when I got downstairs too, I was looking around. I was like, there's like 6 merchandise stops outside in the whole complex. They could have just had open, alleviate some of the crowds inside, like have people buy stuff outside. But, I guess the city or whoever just didn't want to staff the place and didn't want to pay for it. And you end up with that absolute mess. So, yeah, that pissed me off. I'm going to be honest. And like I just said, it upsets me that it even took away an ounce of what was an absolutely unbelievable night. But I just thought it was something that we should address.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Hell, we're like a super famous and influential podcast. So, if anyone watching was at the show, tell us if you had a horror story, or if anyone who works at Arthur Ashe is definitely listening, defend yourself if you want. You want to stand up for your shitty little stadium, by all means, go for it,
Or tell us why shit was ended up being so bad, like tell us,
that's not on, we need. That is not on the employees who just work there. This is on the people who run the place and people in the city who make these decisions. This is not on the person who checked our tickets or the person who told us that there was no more beer to serve. That's not their fault. Like, no one's putting blame on them. Let's get that clear. Like, just so that because that's, again, like, what are they gonna do? They can't give us water they don't have. But the fact that the people who set this up didn't have enough water, that's, again, I can't say that enough. How do you not have water? It's not like,
I get this water
thing I don't like, but like, dude, like the water, really? I gotta walk halfway around the corridor to the water fountain just because I'm dying of thirst? Like, that's crazy. And like, where I was sitting, because it was like this little, like, I don't want to say private area and make it sound like super like fancy.
It was a box. You might have been in the coach's box or something, honestly.
Like, it was nice. There was but they would also bring, like, there was a couple people in wheelchairs and they were in our section. So it's like, I don't know. I kept thinking of, like, dude, what if they needed stuff now? Like, they gotta roll out. They gotta go. They gotta wait online just to find out.
Barely enough room to get a wheelchair and they need that space anyway.
They need to get the staff member to help them, because it's the way it's set up. It's a little hard to maneuver in and out of there without someone holding the gate open. And then the staff was super helpful to accommodate the 2 people in my section that were in wheelchairs. But I don't know, like, how are they getting, like, moving through this crowd in this situation? Like, I don't know, like, I'm just thinking of that now because you were talking about, like, the fire hazard and the narrow hallways. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Because, but
like, I was wondering, like, how the hell does the U.S. Open deal with that? Like, they draw a bigger crowd. Like, they can actually sell out that stadium. I mean, I don't know, with the floor seats, maybe it evened itself out with having certain sections closed. But, if they're drawing crowds like that at the U.S. Open, I can only imagine what that's like. It's got to be miserable. But yeah, and in your to your point with the staffers, like, I always feel bad for them when they're understaffed like that, and just lines are calling because they're doing their best to pump everything out as fast as they can, and the line just keeps building and building because they just don't have enough people. It sucks. So like you said, yeah, we don't blame any of those people. We blame the dumbasses who run the place.
Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that, good day.
Yeah. Great day.
I'm curious to see if AEW runs Arthur Ashe again. I
think
feel like they will, but I don't know if I'd go back. I generally, which is a shame because I had such a good time with the program itself that I don't know. Hey, maybe somebody sees this and
what? Just
consider when they find somewhere.
Despite everything we just said, I would definitely go back because I loved everything else about it. Like the atmosphere in there was great. Like we said earlier, the acoustics and the echoes were amazing. I loved everything about the feeling of being there besides just those very bad things we laid out. It was just like, it really was like this weird, like dark circle around all this other great stuff where it was like everything else I had no problems with. Like it felt different, but that's also the way they built the show. It felt more like a spectacle. Like they built a lore into the arena. So now Arthur Ashe feels synonymous with wrestling and it has its own kind of like spot in the wrestling lore and history.
That's so, like, the site of Grand Slam now. Like that's what it is. Like that's AEW held Grand Slam, the first ever wrestling event in Arthur Ashe. And look, if they continue to run it, I completely understand. Like that's the spot now. It's like the Sears Center with all in and all out. Like they're synonymous with AEW and those events. So I get it, and I'm very happy I was there. It was an unbelievable.
We gave Chicago a run for their money, and I think with
an unbelievable card that I think more than lived up to the hype.
Absolutely. Like I don't want to end on that down note because
I'm trying to bring it back around
because that's none of that's AEW's fault. Like I don't think so anyway. I don't know how this kind of stuff works, but I
doubt it's their fault.
Yeah, and again, this is again like growing pains thing. Like, hey, this is the Arthur Ashe's first time hosting a wrestling event. Maybe they really didn't know what to expect, and maybe they will be better next time.
I'd be curious to see what the newer stadium next to it, Louis Armstrong. I'm pretty sure it's the newer stadium. I don't know if they have the same capacity, but it's still a pretty big place. Maybe they could try running that. I don't know. But you want to guess how long we've been doing this?
Hour 40 minutes.
I think we're at 2.5.
Oh my God! What?
Something like that. God. Maybe a little bit less. So on that note, I think we're gonna end up closing here. I do believe we are recording a regular podcast for this week. I don't know if that's going to be coming out before or after this. So either way, watch it if you haven't yet.
Yes, please watch it. Like I said, please talk about this show. We cannot get enough of talking about this show. So I know some of you people watching were there. Like I said, we have a huge reach. We have I don't know what we call our fans yet. I guess we call them marks. We'll figure that out along the way. But there's countless amounts of you out there. As in, I haven't counted how many of you are out there yet. So please, let's talk about it. What do you guys think?
Hit us up on Facebook, Mark It Down Podcast. We have the Twitter. It's Mark It Down _pod. And on Instagram at Mark It Down Pod. We'll be doing more stuff there. We've been meaning to do a little more introductory stuff for all of us over on Instagram. So keep an eye out for that so you can learn a little bit of more about us, including things like why everyone keeps calling me Reverend randomly on the podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And hey, thanks for all your support. We appreciate it. So for Danny Hernandez, I'm Nick Cummings signing off. Thank you for tuning in to our reactions from the Grand Slam, Dynamite, and Rampage tapings. Have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Good night.